begin. Time for another whiny old woman boring video. Let's look at something fun today. Let's look at Paul the legalist person. Paul the one practicing legalism. Rose, that's horrible. He never practiced legalism. He was a true grace preacher. Paul is very interesting, and he fringed on legalism there for a little while. And we'll study that. What is legalism? A lot of people don't understand what it is. They think, well, if you follow the commandments, that's legalism. No. That's obeying Christ. He said indefinitely, multiple times, if you love me, keep my commandments. If you want to partake the tree of life, if you want to enter into the city of God, you keep my commandments. That's in Revelation 22. Also, he talked about your good deeds were what give glory to the Father. He discussed this on several occasions, and he even talked about it with you wouldn't put your lamp underneath your bed. You would leave it out for the world to see, to give glory to the Father. Now, what am I talking about here? Oh, before we get there, what is legalism? That's any man-made thing that you do to obtain salvation. That is legalism. For example, if you were to, like the Pharisees had, they had the Mosaic laws, and then they had the Levitical laws as well, which they felt pulled them further away from sin. The washing of the hands, the different steps they took, that's legalism. Had nothing to do with the law and the commandments. We'll see that today in the church, legalism with, you might hear somebody say, well, I pray this many times, and I do this, and I pray before I brush my teeth, I pray before I wash, I pray before I go to bed. It's almost become like a ritual. That's legalism. Legalism can even be as simple as, let's say you go to a brother or sister's house, look in their fridge and you see beer. Oh, they can't drink, they're going to hell. Excuse me. Or, oh, they're watching this TV show, they're going to hell. It's something that you imposed, or the church imposes, but it has nothing to do with. Now, that's the same with where I said if somebody's got beer in their fridge, can you drink? Yes, you can drink. Jesus drank. Jesus was accused of being a wine bibber, but he did not drink to get drunk. John the Baptist, it was foretold he would not know strong drink in the womb, so they had strong drink. They had something that was stronger than wine. And Paul talks about that, about being sober and not give yourself to drinking. So you can drink, you can enjoy it. Jesus himself said that he was going to enjoy wine. He wouldn't drink no more till he was with his Father in heaven at the Last Supper. So legalism can creep in all sorts of places. Obeying Christ's commandments and doing good is not legalism. That's doing as Christ commanded, duh. But I tell you what is legalism that some people don't realize. Like I said, it's a self-righteous work that's imposed in addition to these different steps to get you saved. ABCs is legalism. Nowhere in the Bible does it say, accept, believe, confess, you're saved. Nowhere. That is a man-made doctrine. That is legalism. And you see these internet preachers, YouTube preachers, and they call following Christ legalism, but their ABCs is grace. It's like they're calling black white and white black. They just don't get it. Now if we look at Paul had trouble with legalism. Bet you didn't know that. Well, he did. You might say, well, Paul was a proponent against legalism. He was a strong proponent. Rose, if you look in Colossians 2:16 through 23, he strongly resists the legalistic approach. Yeah, he did. Then, he talks on here about let no one act as your judge in regards to certain matters. Let no one keep defrauding you of your prize. Let no one set themselves up as an umpire to pass judgment against you. If you look at 1 Timothy 4:1 through 3, he is talking about certain men who forbade marriage and advocated abstaining from foods were promoting doctrines of demons. That was clearly legalistic. And he said, Rose, he said he didn't like it. He didn't like it. I agree. That was then. But Paul did teeter on legalism. Where did this happen? Oh, poor Paul. It happened when he was talking to Timothy. It's in Acts 16. If we look at that, Paul, he's talking to Timothy. Paul circumcised Timothy. And then he refused to circumcise Titus. Why is this? Why is it? Why did he do this? He's like, well, he circumcised one. He advocated circumcision, but later on in different books, he's like, oh, you can't circumcise. You can't circumcise. Well, there's a reason for that. When Paul was young in his ministry, now keep in mind, Paul was a very confused individual. Read his books. Read his letters. He talked more about sin than anybody. He did not believe he was saved till he was much older. Constantly worried about that old man consuming him, the old sin nature. Now when Paul was young, he felt it was okay for people to be circumcised. That's why he circumcised Timothy. And it was basically, yeah, if you want to be circumcised, it's okay. I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, Timothy, let's go ahead and do it. But if you read his books later on, he absolutely forbids it. What happened between this point and this point? Well, early Christians who were Jews that converted to Christianity, they were a very weak sect. It was a very weak part of Christianity. He was like, yeah, you need to be a Jew first before you become a Christian. And Paul's like, yeah, no you don't, just let it go. But this sect became stronger and stronger and stronger. And then later on, they became so powerful, they wanted to overtake the church with these Mosaic laws. They wanted to take the absolute perfect law of Christ and impose the old covenant, which is by this point is antique, but they're wanting to bring it in. Circumcision being one act of it. With this, legalism was destroying the essence of the gospel of Christ. Paul saw it, but keep in mind, Paul helped to institute it by circumcising Timothy. So essentially, all the letters he wrote later on, he's trying to undo the damage that he caused. I guess he didn't see that he would be such an important figure in the Bible But he was appointed by Christ, so he's got to undo all this stuff. So was he being hypocritical? No, not really. No, he wasn't being hypocritical. He didn't realize the importance at the time, what was going to happen. But he was, because of his actions, he did creep into legalism. And he had to spend years and years and years in all these different ministry trips to all these different churches that he's established to undo that, to undo the legalism. What is it that Jesus talks about with legalism? He's talking about these being traditions of men being passed off as laws of God. And that's essentially what we're doing with the ABCs. That's a tradition of man. It's nowhere in the Bible. Get that. But we're using that to tell people they're saved. Same with the sinner prayer. There is nowhere anywhere in the Bible, nowhere anywhere, that there's a sinner prayer. Nowhere. But people are using that to say, hey, I got saved the other day. I did that Billy Graham walk of shame down the aisle. Now I'm saved. That's legalism. We have to be careful of that. We have to look at the perfect law of God. The grace of God is what saves you. Absolutely. Not going to debate that 100%. That is correct. But Jesus saying, if you love me, keep my commandments. If you want to give glory to the Lord, to the Father, you do good deeds. That is not legalism, people. That's obeying. That is obeying. Putting additional steps on his perfect law, such as circumcision, sinner's prayer, Billy Graham walk of shame, ABCs, any of that, that is legalism. Anything you do that's like a ritual that you feel you have to do to get saved, it's legalism. So just keep that in mind, that, yeah, Paul had some difficulty with it. He had to undo a lot of damage by circumcising Timothy. Cuckoo clock. But anyway, that's what legalism is, people. And in all, it was with the Pharisees, with the Old Covenant. And it began with Paul in the New. Paul had to undo a lot of it. A lot of damage done by Paul. He had to undo it. But also keep in mind, people, anything you do, I said the ABCs and I am saved. Anything that has it like that is legalism. I said the sinner prayer and I am saved. That's legalism. Ain't nothing you can do to save yourself. It's by the grace of God, and God is the one that saves you, not your actions. Anyway, people, just keep that in mind. I thought we'd do a little study on Paul. We might even keep on studying Paul. He is such an interesting character in the Bible. Fascinating. You would not believe. And people's like, oh, true grace. Has never even read his books. Read his letters. He was so consumed with sin and worried about it, he didn't even think he was saved till he was an old man. We might look at that next time. But anyway, people, that's something to consider with legalism. Yes, it began with Paul. Poor Paul. Poor Paul and Timothy. If he had only known, he wouldn't have done that. It wouldn't have gave credence to it. But anyway, Acts 16, that's where we first see it. With the New Covenant. Pharisees with the Old Covenant. See it with Paul in the New Covenant on Acts 16. So anyway, just consider that. Read your Bibles and have a great day.